G'day guys, this is Nick from Stridewise.com with my good friend Albert from Upstate Guy Style on Instagram.
Hello.
G'day Albert. We're here in Times Square, New York City, and on my channel we talk a lot about casual stuff that lasts a long time. A lot of that leans on boots. However, engineer boots have always been a little intimidating to me because they're a force, they're a presence, they got real oomph. So I've sort of shied away from them, and also because I tend to wear tapered jeans as well. People have been telling me I need to do a video on engineer boots for ages, and I didn't want to pretend that I've been wearing them for years and I know everything about how to
So
style
we've established
them.
you do not have a pair.
I do not have a pair of engineer boots. This interview might convince me.
Cool.
Albert has a terrific Instagram I mentioned. He's wearing engineer boots all the time, and he just manages to style them in a variety of different ways. And I wanted to talk about what engineer boots are, how to wear them, and some solid brands, and also some other common questions like how they should fit because there are no laces here. What's an engineer boot?
Well, engineer, I think the word comes from train engineer, locomotive engineer, when they were fired by like wood burning stoves to move the locomotives. The engineer was in there shoveling coal or wood or whatever into the furnace.
Yeah, I think I've heard that that's one reason why they're tall is because their purpose was to keep like coals and embers from coming into someone's pants.
After the war, apparently guys came back from the army and were riding a lot of motorcycles. And suddenly they became a style that a lot of motorcycle riders were wearing in the 50s, and then ultimately becoming the most iconic American footwear when a couple of Hollywood stars wore them, in Marlon Brando most famously with the Wild One. James Dean, with his Barracuda jacket, wore engineers as well. You do have to sort of get used to a little bit of commentary when you wear them, especially if you wear them like Brando with a black leather jacket. You know, you'll go down the street and people are like, oh, are you in a production of Grease? You sort of just got to get used to it and be like, I like this look. I don't care if people have that opinion. And then you get used to wearing them. Suddenly you're like, great pair of boots to wear.
Why would I want engineer boots as opposed to like a Chelsea boot or a jodhpur or something?
I don't know, maybe it's a little bit of like you're going out in New York for the day, and you know, New York's a grimy place. To me, the engineer boot is great because it gives you a certain look, but it's not the kind of boot that you have to baby. And I think if you're living in New York, you're gonna put your boots through the ringer. So if you're buying an expensive pair of jodhpurs or Chelsea boots, that's gonna be great for like, I'm going to a bar, I'm having, you know, whatever. But if you're gonna literally be leaving at 8 o'clock in the morning, spending the day out, going out, hitting the bars late at night, this is gonna take you through the whole day. And they're much more versatile than meets the eye.
What's funny about it is that when you see them disembodied like this, they might look a little out there, but what you need to keep in mind is if you're wearing trousers that come down to here, they're not gonna look that different to a pair of Chelsea boots.
I tend to wear all my pants cuffed pretty high. I like them a little bit higher up. I actually like showing at least the first buckle.
Engineer boots have a long, rich history in the US. Chelsea boots are actually, as opposed to a lot of traditional work boots like you get from like Knicks and even Red Wing, that sort of stuff, those have long histories in American workwear, American pioneers and so on. Chelsea boots are from Victorian England, like that's a decidedly European style, and same goes for jodhpurs. Although I think they first came out in India for people playing polo, but like nonetheless, engineers are they're more American. You can get a more secure fit, and that also means that you can have thicker leathers than you would with a Chelsea boot, right? Like you can have like a more hardy, stumpy sort of boot than you typically get with Chelsea's.
Another way that I look at it is like a spectrum, where a fine dress shoe on one end, the engineer boot to me is on the opposite side. It's kind of like if I'm gonna go with a more rugged look, go all the way.
Yeah,
sometimes some of those middle styles are like, make up your mind. Like, don't try to make that rugged boot look cute with a zipper and this and that. Just, you know, so this is towards that end. Now, some people think they don't have the personality or they don't have the aesthetic vibe to wear something on that other scale. But to me, like if I'm going with a rugged style, I just love an engineer boot. It's just iconic.
Another question, whether or not you tuck your jeans into the boots or not.
People who just say, you never tuck jeans into your boots. It's just, you know, if you want to, go right ahead. I don't do it, but, you know, let people do their thing.
I think if you want to tuck your jeans into it, just be aware you're going to look a lot more like an old-timey rail conductor. We've covered whether or not you tuck them into the boots or not. We've covered The difference between leaving the hem down pretty low versus like cuffing it like midway, which is sort of like a nice in-between point where it's not super old-timey engineer, but you're still showing that your boots have like more character than someone might think.
Well put.
Jeans, what kind of jeans should be worn with engineer boots? And then we'll talk about other potential pants.
Actually, Wesco invented a boot specifically for the more tapered jean that a lot of people have been preferring in recent years, and that's their Mr. Lou boot, and that's this style boot. Wesco actually and Chippewa were two of the earliest brands that made engineer boots back in the day, so Wesco's been doing this a long, long time. There is no doubt these Wesco Mr. Lou's will fit under a tapered jean. I've worn I measured the Brave Star is like 7.5 inch leg opening, and these fit absolutely fine. There's not a problem.
Right, because
whereas the other ones, the wider ones, they will pull the jean.
This is like a myth busting, I guess. You might see an engineer boot think it can only be worn with wider leg pants, but there are some models out there, and Wesco's Mr. Lou is the best known example of it. Where surprisingly, you can wear them with slimmer jeans.
Mr. Lou, I would say, is a really great first choice. The thing is, if you have a high instep, which I do, certain engineer boots are impossible. I won't name brands, but there's certain brands that no matter what, I cannot pull them on my feet. Wesco, I've never had a problem, but partially the reason is the pull tab.
So we talked about engineer boots with jeans. Other pants with engineer boots. What other pants have you worn with your engineer boots? And then we're gonna get into like proper outfits, like style.
I've definitely worn them with a fair amount of wool pants, from fairly dressy wool pants. Like if it's a shitty weather kind of day, I'll wear like a wool suit with a pair of engineer boots sometimes.
Get out of here.
Yeah, it's a look. I like it. I get compliments. You definitely don't want to wear it with a fine Italian suit.
I was gonna say with a tie.
No, that's not gonna work. But yeah, I've got my Wabash pants. I've got other style work pants that aren't blue denim. They kind of go with everything, to be honest, except like a really dressy pair of pants. But I've worn them with jeans and a jacket. I've worn them with double denim is a favorite for sure. Wool pants.
Wool pants with what though? Because like we've said we can't do it with the fine Italian suit. You wouldn't do it with business casual, would you? Like
yeah.
Like chinos in a tweed sports jacket?
Chinos, not as much. That I've not done, but pair of wool pants and one of my all-time favorite, turtleneck. To me, that's like the easiest thing to pair with a pair of wool pants and a pair of engineers.
I always had in my mind engineer boots, super casual, super wide leg jeans. It's a denim on denim sort of fit. And then he comes out with this like nice sleek black turtleneck and these like darker sort of charcoaly pants with his engineer boots, and like it looked really good, even with this leather jacket on top of it, which like kind of helped to match up the styles.
For me, that's business casual. I'm lucky I work in the music business, so I can get away with certain looks. Maybe it's not going to work at a bank.
Okay, so we've talked about how to style them and a few different areas in which you can style them, and how it doesn't have to just be the old heritage workwear look. There are a few different ways you can dress with them, especially because when the pants are long, if you drop them down like this,
True.
which makes them more versatile than people might expect them to be.
Oh,
and
wow.
also, relative to Chelsea boots, how do they fit? How should they fit when you're trying them on the first time?
I have to say, the engineer boot is a tricky boot at the beginning. If you can try them on a store, it just is desirable.
Yeah.
First of all, you'll know if you just absolutely cannot get into it, you don't want to buy it. Be mindful when you try them on of what sock you tend to wear. If you're the kind of person who always wears a thicker sock, then you will have to size them with a thicker sock. You should feel it grip your foot. It should definitely not be touching in the front toe, but it should grip your foot enough because they're going to stretch. And you definitely don't want your foot wobbling around the boot. That's a very uncomfortable fit.
Usually the least comfortable day you have them is the first day you have them, and they get better and better because with the heat and friction of walking around, the leather molds the shape of your foot. The fit improves with time. It's not just that underneath the foot it gets a bit more custom to your arch and so on. It's also that like the heel will become more pronounced and it'll grip you better the longer you have them. Is it still okay to have a bit of heel slip when you try them on at first?
I think some people tell me that they do have a fair amount of heel slippage. They tend to be people with maybe slightly less volume in their feet. Some people have told me that the only way they can really even wear engineers is by putting an extra layer of sole inside to take up some of the room. I don't like doing that for me personally. You should be able to move your toes a little bit, but you definitely don't want to feel crowded in the front because that's going to be uncomfortable over time. You can adjust the top buckle will help you take up some of the room. So you have to watch. If you're already pulled all the way to the last buckle, they might be a little bit too large just because you're not able to secure them any further.
The top buckle is more about keeping your cuff from coming in and out of it, but it's not going to have a lot to do with securing the heel. That's
I don't notice, like, if I pull the top buckle a lot or pull it a little.
What are the best brands? What are good brands?
I think Wesco is a really fabulous choice for a first engineer boot.
Okay, now what we said earlier, Wesco, for guys that have less wide leg jeans, Wesco's Mr. Lou might be the perfect engineer boot for them.
Absolutely. These will fit under the most pants. Like I said, I have a size 7.5 leg opening. This is a piece of cake getting through. It's even fit on tighter pants. And the other thing about Wesco worth mentioning is that they also have non-Mr. Lou models. They're Boss models and other models, which are not narrow at the top. So they're light, but Mr. Lou, that's the one if you wear tapered jeans. I think that's the choice. And this is also the least expensive. Wesco's are less expensive than the other brands that I have here today.
There are some places that stock them like Standard and Strange sometimes, but the upside is if you do have to order them custom on the site, they will let you customize absolutely everything about it. So that's an upside. All right, so that's the Mr. Lou.
Yep.
What else have we got?
If we want to go up in price, the next one is these Attractions. It's called Attractions Official. They're Japanese made. These are horse butt. As you can see, the leather is extremely thick. I've had these close to 4 months. They were jet black when I bought them, and now there's T-core coming through everywhere on them.
Which means that it was brown underneath. They kind of painted black over there with the intention that the more you wear them, the brown comes through. How does the aesthetic and fit for Attractions differ compared to other brands? Like what stands out about this one?
These really did fit and mold my foot really, really well. I will admit they were very hard to get on at first because they don't have the pull tabs. That's a big difference. I brought a prop, but if you're having trouble pulling them on, you just roll this in here, and that will give you the slide that you need to get in. And then after a month, I could pull them on pretty much without the struggle. I personally think these have the most 1950s style. There's something about the silhouette that I just love. They're, I think, the coolest looking engineer. Black is the coolest color. It's the most ubiquitous engineer boot color. So I would say, unless you hate black boots, I think starting with black, if you're only gonna have one pair, black is the way to go. They just work for me, and I've worn the hell out of these for 4 months. So that's my day-to-day New York City engineer boot. Also, I think they have they look great with a dressier outfit. They definitely have a certain kind of sleekness to them.
Yeah,
but also
provided the pants don't taper too much, because it's still
yeah, they're a little wide on top.
What's this you got?
The other one, I'm going to take this down here for a moment. This is almost a cult following for Brass Tokyo's line of Clinch boots.
Even as someone who isn't super familiar with engineer boots, I know about Clinch engineer boots. Like
when they put them on sale at Standard and Strange, people are lining up online, 9 o'clock, they're sold out by 9:01. They only make a certain amount. They're impeccably crafted, they're gorgeous. I happened to be in the store the day they arrived, and I couldn't resist them.
What's the big deal? Why does everyone love them?
It's a really good question. Some people just think that the craftsmanship is the best of them all. The stitching is really beautiful.
It's unstructured in the toe as well, which is unusual.
Yep, they are unstructured, exactly. Now, the real kicker on these is that they have actual sewn-in pull tabs. So this helps yanking these things on, and that will be a help.
Fit and comfort-wise, relative to other engineers, what stands out about
this? You get a feeling like you're wearing a fairly thick boot. That one thing I will say, I think this area here, it seems like they use a slightly harder surface in there. They don't crunch as much when you push your foot in. Some of the other brands, you'll see a lot of wear here. They kind of crunch down. These seem to be a slightly harder surface, and they've held up a little bit better.
Is this horse butt?
It is horse butt. These are, I think they're more than twice as expensive as Wesco. I would not advise a person who isn't sure about engineer boots to go right to Clinch boots. Some guys also are really into how
The unstructured, sir.
yeah, and how it rolls. Like they talk, you know, they're like nice rolls. I had no idea what they were talking about at the beginning,
Yeah.
but it's how they crease in the front. I'll
Now-
never forget the first time I put these on, the very first time. They were so snug that I had to get help pulling them off. A week later, they felt too loose. And then the third week or fourth week, they felt just right.
Now, Clinch is one of the most expensive engineer boot brands, and on the lower end, probably there like some Red Wing engineer boots out there. They don't sell them, but they're on the seconds market. Right?
Red Wing, yeah. Red Wing engineers really look heavier. They do look a little bit more like the old style engineer.
They're
Like back
they're
in the
harder
day.
to get. You can't get them on Red Wing Heritage right now, but like there's enough of them out there that they'll often pop up on eBay and Grail.
Yeah, I mean, White's makes them, and Chippewa makes them. There's lots of different brands. You gotta just keep looking. So, and the price range is pretty dramatic. eBay is a great place. Any place where you buy used footwear. I do think that if you're really not sure about the style, just buy a pair. You could buy a super cheap pair of engineer boots on eBay.
Yeah,
And just try it. Try the size, and if you're like, oh, I love these, then you can graduate to one of these other ones.
The best part about this area of menswear, where everything's like super durable and super leathery, is that there's no shame in buying something secondhand. You gotta go to work.
I do. I worked 2 blocks away. I'm glad we were able to do this at short notice.
Let's get out of here.
I
We gotta wrap
feel
this
very
up.
honored being the engineer boot guy.
Yeah, you're my engineer boot guy. It was the fact that you worked 2 blocks away was a bonus, but even if I had anyone at my beck and call, I think I would have brought you in anyway.
Well,
'cause
thanks.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Subscribe to this channel for lots of stuff on casual stuff that lasts a long time, and also follow Albert on Instagram for lots of amazing style tips and journeys through his fun life here in New York City. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, dude.
I'll see you for the next one.